Music in the 18th century. I want to look a bit about how this idea of reason and rational thought is exemplified through the music of the 18th century. The classical style itself has a specific definition. Remember, just as a lot of the writers were interested in going back to the classical past, the beliefs in balance, order, and proportion, you see the same thing with musicians as they establish this classical style. The classical style sought balance, clarity, a high level of intelligence, and order in the music. And it really began in the second half of the 18th century. Two of the most famous 18th century composers are Haydn and Mozart, and they are most famous for their symphonies. A symphony, a classical symphony, is very ordered and very controlled. It has 4 movements. The first movement is relatively fast. It's usually the most complex, and it has a particular sonata form. The second movement is slower. It's more lyrical. The third movement is a dance, and the fourth movement is the conclusion. So every symphony that was written in the 18th century, the type of music, the style of music, the sounds of the music followed this particular pattern. Again, you can see the order and the balance they were concerned with, the appeal to reason. Haydn was an Austrian. He did attain a high social position, which was quite unusual, and he is considered to be the father of the symphony. He wrote more than 100 symphonies, and he's most famous for his London symphonies. And you'll be able to hear later on down in the slideshow or in the Blackboard course rather, hear some of what Haydn did and learn more about him. Mozart is perhaps the classical composer you are most familiar with. This is what Haydn had to say about Mozart. Before God and as an honest man, I tell you that your son, and here Haydn is writing to Mozart's father, is the greatest composer known to me either in person or by name. That's pretty high praise from the man who's considered to be the father of the symphony. You can't listen to the symphony here, the fourth movement, which I think you will instantly recognize, but you will be able to listen once you close the video and look down in Blackboard. There will be a link where you can listen to that movement, which I think you'll recognize. I do want to mention a particular work by Mozart, which was an opera called The Marriage of Figaro. This opera that Mozart wrote was adapted from another composer, but Mozart's Marriage of Figaro was first performed in 1786, and he really participates in the spirit of revolution of the 18th century as he protests against the abuses of human rights. And very basically, the heroes in the opera are the servants, are the normal, common, everyday, ordinary people, while the villains are the masters, or the upper class people. So he's really bringing, again, that spirit of revolution into his composition.